Hi, so this is my first time posting on Reddit, and the situation I'm in is very complicated. At least it seems complicated to me, so I don't really know what to do. Anyway, what happened was that recently, a couple of days back, I celebrated my 16th birthday. I had one party with my dad and another with my mom since they got divorced when I was 10 years old. When I was around 14, my mom started dating my stepdad. Let's call him Liam. I never liked him, to be very honest. It had nothing to do with the fact that he was going to be my stepdad, but more about the fact that he was just plain irritating. He was always trying too hard, and I didn't like that. I knew that he had lost custody of his children in his earlier divorce, that he was around my mom's age and he really missed the kids and he could only get to see them on the weekends. But that didn't seem enough of a reason for me to put up with everything, very honestly, because it felt like he was just trying to replace my dad in my life, which is, as you guys know, a huge red flag. I stay with my dad Thursday through Sunday, and he would always try to get me to postpone it or try to cancel it altogether. So he and I and my mom could make some plans together, and we could all hang out together as a family along with his kids. My mom was always up for it, and she even tried to talk to me and convince me to give some of my time with my father. But I was not going to do that, so that led to a lot of differences between us because she felt like I was not giving Liam a fair chance. And maybe that's true, I don't know, but like I said, I just always found him very annoying. Right from the beginning, he had been trying to be very friendly with me, and it just felt weird because we didn't know each other that well. It felt like it was all for sure. And he was just trying to force his presence into my life. That he was somehow trying to manipulate me into thinking that we were very close when we were not. And to my mom, it did not seem anything out of the ordinary. She just thought that it was sweet that he was trying so hard to get me to like him. And I was being cold by turning him away. But I could see right through him, and I didn't like that. So even after they got married, I've kept my distance from Liam. And no matter how hard he tries, I think by now, it's been established that he could never replace my father in my life. But that has not stopped him from trying. Even now, he behaves the same way. And I've just learned to put up with it now. However, a couple of days back on my birthday, a line was crossed. So here's the thing. I had two birthday parties, one at my dad's house and the other one at my mom's place, like I had said earlier. Usually this is not what happens on my birthdays. Even after the divorce, my parents agreed that for my sake, my birthdays would be celebrated together. Even though by then they were not really getting along well, they decided to do this for my sake, and I was pretty happy about it. This year, though, it was my mom's idea to have separate birthday parties, and I did not like that because I could sense that it was Liam's idea. He has never really been comfortable around my dad. He's never liked the guy, and I guess because of me, he never badmouths my father, at least when I'm around. But I'm sure that he does that behind his back. I can't prove it, but I just get that vibe from him. Anyway, I tried to convince my mom otherwise, but she told me that I should just be happy that I was getting two parties, so I was already pretty annoyed with my mom and Liam by then. But I tried not to let it affect me too much. In all honesty, I would say that the party that my dad threw for me was the real party because he invited my friends, my cousins, and other relatives on his side of the family, and my grandparents. I had a lot of fun, and after that I didn't really feel like having another party, so I told my mom about it. But she told me that she had already organized everything, and that I needed to suck it up instead of being a brat. So by the time I returned from my dad's place, I was already in a pretty bad mood, and I was not happy with my mom. And that evening, the party was supposed to be held. When I came back home, my mom and Liam welcomed me with open arms, and I felt like they were acting weird. But I didn't say anything about it. I just tried to avoid them and their company so I could get some alone time before entertaining guests at the party in the evening. I already knew that this was going to be boring because my friends were not invited, since, according to my mom, they had already had their fun time with me at my dad's party. This was strictly for family, so it was going to be me, my mom, and Liam, his kids, and a couple of neighbors, and my mom's side of the family that I don't really get along with much. Apparently, Liam had requested his ex-wife let him have his kids with him for this party specifically, so there was a lot of pressure on me to make it fun, and I was not looking forward to this at all. So, like I said, there were a lot of things that had put me in a bad mood. And then, the cherry on top was when, a couple of hours before the party, Liam came into my room with a box. And I thought that he was going to give me a gift, but instead, he told me that he was only going to give me this gift if I accepted his terms and conditions. Basically, he was giving me an ultimatum, and I was really annoyed at what he said next. He started to tell me that he and my mom had been discussing this for a while, apparently, and now they thought that it was finally time for me to make up my mind. They wanted me to be formally adopted by Liam so he could be a true parent, but that would require my father to give up his parental rights, and I would need to convince him of that. He tried to manipulate me by saying that this is what my mom wants. And after everything that she has done for me, this is the bare minimum that I can do for her. He tried to make my dad out to be some sort of guy who had hurt my mom a lot. And the fact that he has still continued to be such an active part of my life has been hurting my mom for a very long time. Now he wants to change that. Now that he's in the picture, he wants me to think about what he's offering and the alternative. He told me that I could either make this decision or I would have to go and stay with my dad on a permanent basis because this house technically belongs to him. Yes, technically, it definitely does because it's his name on the lease agreement. But I know for a fact that for the past many months, it's been my mom who's been paying the rent. So if he is here as a tenant, how can it be his house in the true sense of the word? Anyway, I didn't argue with him over that. I was just shocked over what he was suggesting because as far as I remember, my parents got divorced because they were just not compatible anymore. They were having a hard time dealing with each other. So they decided to separate. It was a mutual thing. And the trouble only started when my mom started trying to file for full custody of me, which was not something that my dad could accept. That's why the divorce was finalized on bitter terms. But apart from that, my dad had never actively gone out of his way to hurt my mom, so I didn't even understand why they were trying to pretend as if he was a really bad guy. But anyway, after Liam said all this, I just told him that I needed some time to think. But in reality, I was just planning on making a run for it and going to my dad's house because I did not want to be around them after that. I didn't even want to attend the party. That was the last thing on my mind. But after my conversation with Liam, my mom came into my room almost immediately and started trying to reminisce. I was polite to her. I was trying not to talk about anything that Liam had said. And she didn't bring it up either, but I'm assuming that she knew everything. Anyway, I guess she knows me too well to know how I would have reacted, so she sat there with me until it was time for me to get ready for the party. And the first guests started trickling in. At that point, there was no way for me to make a run without letting people know. So, she probably felt safe enough to leave the room and attend to the guests who had started arriving. And unfortunately, I was forced to get dressed and go down to the living room, and then eventually the party was in full swing. It was still pretty boring, but I tried my best to put on a happy face, even though I was seething on the inside. I had made up my mind that after the party, I was just going to go back to my dad's house, but before I could do that, Liam pulled off a crazy little stunt at the party, and that was what ruined everything. He decided to propose a toast and started talking about how he had watched me grow up, which was hardly true because he had only been a part of my life for the past couple of years, and I was already a teenager when he became a part of my mom's life. But anyway, he started to talk about me and how we were the best of friends, and then eventually he said that earlier today he had been told that I was going to agree to be legally adopted by him, and the entire family was very happy because they like Liam, unlike me. And that announcement really took me by shock because I had not agreed to anything like that. I had only said that I would think about it, but in reality, I had no intention of ever agreeing to something like that. And at 16, I think it was pretty pointless to try and adopt me. My dad is my dad, and that's it. I don't need a backup, and I definitely don't need Liam to try and be my father. And that's exactly what I said when he made that announcement, because I was furious that he would say something like that. I was even more annoyed that my mom and the rest of the family seemed to be celebrating it, because it just showed how little they know me and how much they dislike my dad for absolutely no reason. Because he's really never done anything about my mom. They just got divorced because they felt like they couldn't be together anymore. And even during the divorce, it was my mom who had tried to get full custody of me, not my dad. Now, of course, if she was going to pull off something like that, he was definitely going to fight back. But even then, he has never said anything mean about her to me. He has always respected her, so I just couldn't understand why they were all acting like this. Anyway, I just lost it at the party, especially Liam, and I turned to him and I told him that he could not replace my father no matter how we tried it. So he needed to stop because it was getting weird now, and it was crazy that my mom was even supporting him. I told everybody about the ultimatum that I had been given, that I had made no such decision of leaving my father, and that he was just making it all up. I also said that it was very strange that Liam was threatening to kick me out of his house, when in fact he was just a tenant here, and the landlord was somebody else, and even the rent was being covered by my mom for the past couple of months because his business hasn't been doing too well, and he's been relying on her for the money. So that kind of financial standing, it was very strange that he felt confident enough to threaten me to kick me out of the house. But he didn't need to threaten me anymore because I had made up my mind and I was going to leave by myself because I was not going to leave my dad behind. So, in front of everyone at the party, I went up to my room, and since I had just come back that morning, I hadn't had the opportunity to unpack yet. I just grabbed my bag and walked out. My mom and Liam tried to stop me, but I just shook them off. I started walking, and I walked for as long as I could before calling a cab. Then, when I finally got to my dad's place, I told him everything. And that's when I finally broke down because in spite of everything, I still do love my mom. She is my mother after all, and yet whatever had happened, it was just unforgivable. My dad was also pretty upset, but he didn't say much. And he just told me that I could stay with him for as long as I wanted to. And even if I wanted to go back to my mom and sort things out with her, I was free to do that as well. He just wanted me to be happy, and he was glad that I had taken a stand for myself and for him. So things with my dad are fine, but of course things with my mom are pretty strained right now. After I left, she tried to call me several times, but I didn't pick up. It's been a couple of days now, and finally yesterday I responded to her phone calls and messages. She didn't say much in her texts. She only kept telling me to call her back. So I didn't know what exactly to expect. Anyway, when I did call her back, she immediately broke into tears and started telling me that she had been really hurt and that she had never expected me to act like this in front of so many people and totally humiliate her and Liam. She told me that remarks that I had made about Liam's financial standing were totally unnecessary, and that this was not something that I had to bring up in front of his kids, who are just a couple of years younger than me and can totally understand what I was talking about. They were already embarrassed, and the rest of the family is also very upset with my behavior. And she wants me to issue a public apology somehow. But I told her that it was not fair of them to put me on the spot like they did at the party. And I was not going to apologize to anybody. Even if I did regret what I had done, it didn't mean that I was going to issue a public apology and make myself the bad guy. What they had done was just unacceptable, and right now I think that it should be my mom and Liam who should be apologizing to me, not the other way around. So we are currently in disagreement over this, and I do feel very guilty, but I don't feel like apologizing because I feel like this has been building up for a very long time. And at the party, since I had already been having a pretty bad day, everything just came to the surface and boiled over. But it was they who put me in that position, so I don't think I should feel sorry. So now, AITA for humiliating my mom and my stepdad at my birthday party when they tried to replace my dad in my life. Update 1. Hey, first off, thank you so much to everybody who commented. It's been a week since the party and I'm doing much better now, emotionally. For the past couple of days, until I had made that post, I've been feeling like a total wreck. I did speak to my dad about it. I spoke to my friends as well. And everyone told me I was doing the right thing and that I had done the right thing as well at the party. So I didn't need to feel sorry about anything. Whatever Mom and Liam were trying to do, it was not justified in any sense of the word. And I'm just 16 at the end of the day. What were they even expecting? I had tried to be reasonable with them for as long as possible, and I was trying not to have an outburst like that. But they pushed me to that stage. Now they cannot pretend to be the victim and make me out to be the bad guy here. That's just not done. So anyway, I'm ignoring my mom for now because I don't really know if there is anything else that I can do. And I'm still staying with my dad. And I'm trying to convince him to file for full custody of me because I just don't want to be around Liam ever again. I hate him. I think that he ruined my relationship with my mom irreversibly. I tried to be respectful of the fact that she has tried to move on with her life, but I've had enough. I cannot compromise my own mental peace for her sake all the time, and being around Liam has been extremely taxing for as long as I have known him. His whole happy-go-lucky fatherly act can take a hike for all I care, because at the end of the day, he's not my father. He'll never be, and he needs to stop acting like he has a chance to make a real family out of us just because he failed with his previous one. And about that, a lot of you guys had questions about why exactly he lost custody of his kids during his divorce. And from what I know, it's because he had a drinking problem earlier. It was pretty bad from what I heard, and after his wife filed for a divorce, he started rehab, but even then, she didn't allow the kids to be around him without supervision. He lost custody because of his drinking problems. And even though he's been sober for about a couple of years now, the only thing that has gotten him is unsupervised visits from his kids, but nothing more. His ex-wife's attorney is extremely good at what he does, so I'm guessing that's part of the reason why he still doesn't have custody of his kids. Anyway, I know he misses him, but I'm not his child, and I never will be. And if he had only tried to be a stepdad and nothing more, maybe we would have had a chance at being a better family. But unfortunately, he went about things in a totally wrong way, and that's what ruined everything. He's overbearing, annoying, and I just cannot stand the sight of him anymore. I'm glad that I'm out of there because I think I've put up with him for long enough. I've put up with my mom and her weird behavior as well. But I can't do this anymore. Update 2. Hi, so it's been a week and a half since my last update, and today my dad finally decided to talk to me about something that he had been keeping from me. And I don't really know what to make of it anymore, to be honest. I thought that my dad, of all people, would have been completely transparent with me, but clearly not. At this point, I don't even know if I can even trust my parents with anything. Anyway, I had been bugging him to file for full custody, but he had been telling me that I might change my mind later on, and he didn't want me to make any decisions that I might regret later. I was pretty sure of what I wanted to do, since my mom is also adamant that she was not going to apologize to me, so I don't know why he was putting it off. And then today, he finally told me that he couldn't file for full custody because he felt like his mom had a reason to hate him. Because apparently, a couple of days after they had decided to get divorced, my mom had changed her mind and was trying to convince him to stay and at least go for marriage counseling. She wanted to sort out their differences for my sake. And after a lot of back and forth, my dad finally agreed to put off the divorce and go for marriage counseling. For a few weeks, they kept trying, but things were not getting better, and instead it was getting worse because my mom kept insisting that he was not trying hard enough and he was not serious about counseling. She kept bringing up new issues every session, and every time he tried to defend himself, she would just start crying, and he would have to apologize. He was getting tired of it, so one day, without consulting her, he just spoke to a lawyer, and within a few days he had filed for a divorce. He hadn't told her anything about it, and a few days later, he just came back home with the divorce papers and served her. It was pretty heartless. And my mom ended up breaking down. She ended up leaving me, and I remember being very confused because I had no idea what was going on. Since until then, I hadn't had a clue that my parents were having trouble in their marriage. After that, the whole divorce got pretty ugly because my mom was really hurt that he hadn't even bothered to speak to her one last time. And as if that was not bad enough, a couple of weeks after the divorce was filed, my aunt told my mother that she had seen my dad out on a date with some woman, and she was sure that it was a date because of the way my dad was behaving. When my mom called my dad about it, he tried to deny it, but both of them knew that it was the truth. That after 12 years of marriage, my father was out with another woman on a date just a couple of weeks after their divorce had been filed. That really hurt my mom, and that was the point at which she decided she was going to file for full custody of me and never have anything to do with my dad ever again. Unfortunately, that couldn't work out, but my mom has always hated my dad ever since. And now it finally makes sense why she and her entire family hate my dad so much. And it also makes sense why my dad never spoke to me about any of this. because he probably didn't want me to find out about this side of things. And it's very surprising that even my mom never brought it up with me, probably to spare my feelings because she knows I've always loved my dad and I would hate to know all of this, probably because it would ruin my perception of him. Now, though, I finally know the truth, the whole entire truth, and I don't even know what to make of it anymore. I'm just so confused. I'm totally lost. I feel sorry for my mom. I also feel sorry for myself, and I feel sorry for my entire family right now. We are just such a mess. I don't know how to get out of this, to be very honest. One thing is for sure, I don't think I'm going to try and convince my dad to file for full custody anymore, because I think it's pretty pointless. At this point, I've realized that there's nobody to blame, that this is just a bad situation for everyone, and the person that's going to suffer the most in the end is going to be me. No surprises there. My dad has apologized for keeping us a secret from me several times by now, and I know that he's going to keep saying that he's sorry, but for now, I just need some space from him. I'm not going back to my mom's house because that will be weird. And I don't really know what I want to do right now, but I'm just staying cooped up in my room. And I also told him that I don't want him to talk to me until I talk to him first, because I just need some time to process everything. He has respected that so far, and I'm thankful for it, because I really need to think things over about what I want to do, about who I want to stay with. At this point, I'm guessing that my best bet is to just go back to our old arrangement and try to make the best of it, because I don't know how else I'm going to make this work. Like I said, I'm just a total loss, so any kind of advice will work. Update 3. So it's been 2 weeks since my last update, and I took the advice that people have been giving me and decided to speak to both my parents to sort things out. I spoke to my dad and I told him that I was really disappointed. He told me that it was totally normal for me to feel this way, and he could understand that I felt betrayed. I also told him I was planning on going back to the old arrangement and that I did not want him to file for custody anymore. He told me that he understood and respected my decision, and that he was glad I had made this choice because he did not want to hurt my mom more than he already had. We hugged it out, and that was that. In the end, I forgave him. With my mom, though, it was a lot trickier. But even then, I went back home and I tried to talk to her. I told her I had found out about the truth from my dad. And she told me that she had never told me any of this because she didn't want me to find out and think less of my dad. But she had definitely been counting on him to tell me the truth at some point. We spoke about our feelings, and I told her that I did not like what had been done at the party, and that in spite of what my dad had done in the past, it still doesn't justify whatever had happened recently. She told me that she agreed, that she and Liam had overstepped, and she had even spoken to him about how he had been overbearing and they got into a fight. So now they are in marriage counseling because apparently they've been having a lot of trouble in the past couple of months, since he refuses to give up his company, even though it hasn't been doing well for a while. And apparently he lied about how long it's been doing badly, because he had said that it had just been a couple of months, but in fact, it's been doing badly for years now. It's just been doing even worse. So it's a lie that really got to my mom, and for now he's living separately. While the fight started about him being overbearing with me, it ended up in a completely different place, and I'm beginning to have the feeling that this is not going to work out. Anyway, for my mom's sake, I hope it does. But for now, the two of us are trying to sort things out, and we have gone back to our old arrangement. So I guess that's how things are right now, and I'm hoping that it gets better in the future. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.